Hey guys, welcome back to the S&C Roundtable. I am joined by a good friend, I would say a good friend, Mr. David Gray, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Brandon. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to the chat. And yeah, I think you can write me down in the friend category, like one of four people. Maybe you have a top 10. I have a top three. Maybe I don't have a top three. I have
No.
three. That's
Redacted already. Oh, geez, off to a great start. How's Dan Carl? Was it Dan Carlin? Dan Collin? I was.
Carolyn.
We've been flirting a little bit in the DMs. I've been sending you things, and then I feel like we both of us have like a bit of downtime, and then we shoot like three messages back and forth to each other, and I think we just go and do other shit. But that's pretty much I think how it happens. Or Kira yells at you and tells you to do something, but that happens with me. But yeah, I sent you. I think you posted up saying that you just had a bad year for podcasts, and you were like,
Mhm.
I just couldn't find one that I was into, and then I've been listening to some, and then they've mentioned this like history one, and I was like, what is this? This is crazy. And yeah, you ended up buying the box set, the digital box
Yeah.
set.
So Hardcore History is the name of it, and I had heard about that 2 or 3 years ago, and I'd heard about it several times over the years. But I can remember where I was when I tried to buy it, and I tried to buy it on my phone because he only has like 10 or 20 episodes available for free. And I tried to buy it at the time, and I couldn't figure out how to buy the fucking thing. And I'm terrible with tech. So even if I could buy it, there was still all these steps where you have to download it and then put it up onto a podcast player and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't back then. And that it does teach you a lesson about friction, like how many people are trying to buy shit from me or from you. And I always say to Kira, like with this, because someone will email and ask questions about a product that I think are super clear. Like you didn't read the thing. And I had to tell her one day, like, because both of us do, not tell her, but I had to tell us. It was like, we have to stop calling these people stupid because like there's a reason that they're asking these questions. And ultimately we're the ones losing out in the sales. So anyway, that's a side topic. But yeah, I bought it, I downloaded it all. And I'm on I started one of the series. You don't have to listen to them all in order because they're all different series, but it's on World War One. It's on like it's called Armageddon, some recipe for Armageddon or something like that, and it's on like the lead up to World War One, which is I know nothing about World War One, so it's actually interesting.
The reason why it came up in the conversation on the podcast was it was in the discussion between it was like a bit of a dichotomy, bit of a contrast between context and punchline, or story and punchline, and how is it Dan Collin?
Carolyn.
Carlin. Fuck. He loves he loves context. He loves context. And so I believe there's an episode on the Cuban Missile Crisis or something like that, or something along the lines of that. There's an episode like that, but apparently that the episode goes for 5 hours, and the first 4 hours or 4.5 is just context, and then the last 30 minutes is just like, this is actually what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of similar to coaching in that I feel like with Instagram and all those things, people just want the punch, like, and some kind of coaches just really want the punchline. Like you were mentioning on your podcast with Mike Boyle just before, I was just listening to it, and you were saying you've kind of shifted from like, maybe I don't want you to just come away with this tool. I don't really want you to come away with the punchline. I kind of want you to have the context, which is how I view movement. So I feel like it was like and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is just like, I'm in love with context, and I'm in love with like providing as much context as I can. And I find it so hard to just give the punchline because I find it so boring and almost meaningless.
Mm-hmm. I try and give the punchline first, I guess. It's like tell the joke first, tell the punchline of the joke first, and then tell the rest afterwards. So that's what our programs have served to do, and I actually prefer people to learn that way now. When someone asks me, like, should I every day I get asked, like, should I buy I'm a coach, should I buy the programs first? Because I know they're not really for coaches and they weren't initially written for coaches. As I went on, I kind of made it a little bit more like that. But they say, what should I do? Should I just join DGR Interactive? And I actually say, no, get the programs first. One, obviously, hopefully they'll end up buying the DGR Interactive, the member site, and like that's more money for us. But I'm really not doing it for that reason, because I know the money will come if they're ultimately successful and they like this stuff. So if they can buy lower body basics, let's say, first, and do it, even do a little bit of it or look at it and see some of the exercises and feel them, now I can provide the context afterwards. But if I try and provide the context first and you have no idea really what I'm talking about, you've never felt something, then you have no reason to trust anything I say or believe anything that I say or even understand what I'm saying. So that's how I've tried to do it. And I was talking to another coach the other day who will remain nameless. And he actually yesterday, I think it was. So shout out to this coach, but I won't name him. But he said he made 25 grand in a week over Black Friday selling a program of his. And he was just kind of telling me this because 2 years ago I had spoken to him and he said that I had given him like some inspiration to just start sharing content. I'm not taking any credit. It was literally just like, you have a lot to say. Why don't you start saying it and post every day for 90 days or something like that? And that led up, like, that small conversation and then him posting and posting and posting led up to him being able to make 25 grand in 1 week, which is like to massive. Him, that's life-changing. It's massive because it's not just that sum of money, but it's also a complete flip of a switch where it's like, oh, this is possible, this kind of a thing, which that idea is life-changing. And he doesn't provide context in his posts. They don't work well like that. He provides athletes moving and he just shows them doing what they're doing. Zero context around it. He's like, my caption is like, do this type of thing. And he said he felt a bit guilty about that he's like selling it in that way. And I said, you don't need to feel, I don't think he needs to feel guilty about that. He's getting people in and the product that he's selling is providing the context, because now they're learning as they go, and it's not an educational product. It is a programming. It is do this program, but they're learning what a good program looks like and feels like, and that is providing context as well. So yeah, I love context as well, and I don't like when people think about our work as like a tool in the toolbox. I really think that they've missed the point, but they might think that in the beginning, and that's fine with me.
You think that's one of the bigger problems is like the way people view movement models as like they just have to acquire them all, like just fucking collecting them like they're Pokemon. Pretty much, like they're trying to acquire. I want to know what Bill Hartman says. I want to know what David says. I want to know. Give me the wiki one. Give me the fucking. I want to know all the different ones, and that's not really how you go about doing business, in my opinion. And the way in which the industry is going towards like collecting movement models, it's more so, in my opinion, it's more so like even when someone says to me, I don't know if I'm wrong in this, but it's like, oh, I just want to see your lens, or I want to see your lens, or how you view things. It's more so like you have a set of experiences and a set of methods that you're very comfortable with and that you get extremely good results with. So the principles behind those methods are the things that I need to understand from you, not necessarily your lens, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So everyone's after like, I just want to see, your lens, how you do things. It's like, that's not really going to help you, because I don't know. I feel like that's where like the Instagram biomechanics influencer is going, and some of this Instagram education is with like movement models. I feel like people are confused because there's so much information available to them on these topics.
Yeah. And what you'll find with those people is they just swap out one thing for another constantly. Yeah. It's just swapping. It's like, yeah, you can have your 6 Pokemon and like the rest are in the back there. You're saying you're collecting tools in the toolbox. You're not. You're just swapping tools in the toolbox, because you never actually grew your toolbox, which is your brain. You never actually created something solid that's there, that that now you have a filter of what to put in there. And I think it's I think we all start that way, where we're just we are like collecting tools. We're just looking at different stuff. And even if you don't realize it, you hopefully are creating context and learning along the way and getting a flavor for what works well and what doesn't. But I don't know, something, I don't know when it was, but at some stage a switch just kind of flipped with me, and I got super comfortable at some stage. Maybe it feels like it probably happened overnight, but it probably was like just seeds that were sowing for several years, to be honest, for 10 years, to be honest. And yeah, it feels like overnight I just like had a massive moment of clarity, which is I can pretty much look at any system and start to see where it's useful, hopefully, and where it's maybe not useful, rather than just swapping it in and taking it out. And I don't mean saying that I know every system and I have learned everything. Far from it. There's constantly things to learn, and I do think you can. Systems do get criticized, but actually they can be very helpful, and you can go into all these different systems and you'll always pick up things, because even if it's completely contrary to your thought process, or the key point is their explanations are contrary. They have bad explanations, but they still get some results. Even there's a few systems that I despise in the industry, but you'll still find some people saying this worked really well for me. Not because of the explanation that is provided, but it still worked well. So I want to know like what they're doing that makes it work well, but I have a better explanation for why it works than them. Or I have more honest explanation, which is we don't know why it works. We have some theories, but your theories are they're far less likely to be right than my theories. I don't mean me, but like their theories versus someone else's theories. Some of them their explanations are poor. That's what I would say.
It's a very beginning to infinity definition. I don't know if you've read that book, but it's like at the beginning he defines what explanations are. He seems like a really crazy, intelligent man.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's David Deutsch, right? I'm pretty sure that
another David. It must be that.
When I talk about explanations, I'm pretty sure that it's probably from that book that I'm.
It is. It's the
like somewhat referencing.
Where he talks about how explanations, the way we progress to better explanations is by the fact that they hold up in multiple situations.
Exactly.
And there's multiple contexts where those things hold up. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have a good example of that. Like, let's say, like a practical example for someone. Let's say you get a group of boys at the age of 14 years of age, and their goal, or your goal for them, is your collective goal is they want to jump higher. They're basketball players, they want to jump higher. And you get them and you decide, you talk to someone and you said, okay, I shouldn't lift weights with 14-year-olds. So instead, I am going to play chess with them because I read that brain development is important, right? So you retest them again at 16 years of age, and all of the ones that didn't get fat ended up jumping higher at 16. So now you start to think that, okay, playing chess makes people jump higher. But if you try that hypothesis with a group of adult males, playing chess will not help them jump higher. Now, I'm not saying that lifting weights would have been the thing that helped them jump higher either, because puberty was probably the thing that helped them jump higher. But so I'm not saying we have a perfect explanation for you could have done 100 things, but I'm definitely saying that the explanation that person had, that coach had in that instance, is inaccurate. So that's my example.
I love that example. No, it's sad how people view certain things, and the chess is just like any intervention. They it's like the youth athletes are just tracking puberty. They're just documenting the athletes getting older. Like this season, they jumped further and threw the shot put further. It's like, yeah, they lifted heavier too. They got older. And they're bigger. You know, you talk about that moment where like you just got really comfortable. with some of the things that you use or some of the ways that you view things. One of the most badass moments from this year, like just a memory of you, is when you did the mentorship presentation for my cohort, and you started off with like my principles, but then it had in brackets life. It was the biggest fucking G up because at the bottom, and I will they always say, you remember the last thing, at the bottom or whatever. And I went back and had a look at those principles, and it was like, don't fight tension with tension, open space, restore movement options or something like that. And then there was one more, which I can't remember. And then it was the last one, which was the biggest G up for everyone, and it was set high standards.
Mm-hmm. I know what the fourth one was.
Don't be boring. That's right.
Don't be boring. Yeah.
You can't save souls in an empty church. And I think it was such a good way for people to get to know you a bit better, because they've obviously seen the exercises, they see the Instagram, they already know who you are. I've spoken to them about you. But then when you started with that, I think that was like the best place to start from, because immediately it didn't mean like they didn't suddenly like learn more about you as in like your experiences or your knowledge. If you just came in the room and were like, all right, like set high standards and don't be boring. And it was just like such a unique way and such an awesome way to start off, like just educating people. And I think it's just, I don't know, I think it makes it fun. Something that we haven't spoken about, but I just thought it was so epic. And then from then on, everyone was so engaged. And I just remember it being like, I don't know if it like meant anything to you at the time, but I thought like it was so cool and something that I wanted to bring up. And it was like, when did you kind of like, I don't know, did you think much of like including stuff like that, or do you have those kind of things changed for you, or do you think about some of those like general life principles or kind of like overarching things in the work that you have or that you try and preach to people?
I try as I've gone on, like, and started to teach more. I've tried to understand how I operate. I've tried to. I've felt more and more responsibility, that I have a responsibility to the people I'm teaching. Or teaching sometimes isn't a great word, but I'll just use it for in this instance. So I have a big responsibility, a huge responsibility actually, because not because I have designated myself as the teacher, but because they have in this instance. They've decided to come to a workshop. They've decided to turn on a podcast. They've decided to actually look at my Instagram post. They've decided to sign up for your mentorship, and you have decided to get me as a speaker. So I do feel like I have a strong responsibility there. And so I want to do a good job. But I consistently see people in this industry not setting high standards, letting themselves off the hook. And if you just look at like conversations online, for example, which isn't always the best way to gauge it, to be honest. Like that's where that online does bring out the worst in people. I think it does a lot of good stuff, but it brings out the worst in people, including me. But they don't have high standards. They will choose one thing and strawman something else, and they will say that biomechanics is trash and we need to learn pain science. They will say that pain science is trash and we need to learn biomechanics or something, as if these things are separate. As if I wouldn't hopefully go into my GP, my doctor, and potentially have cancer. And I would want him to know, or him or her to know everything about the symptoms to do with cancer. But I would still want him to be able to say, actually, you aren't walking 5,000 steps a day. You're not walking 1,000 steps a day. So you need to go for a walk. But on the other side, I do need to do your bloods and make sure that this is all correct, because actually I can recognize some symptoms here. I want them to be able to know everything so that they can choose the tool that they need in that instance. But in coaching, no, you're not allowed to know about foot movement. You're not allowed to know about what a really good hinge might look like. If you know what a really good hinge might look like and what a different type of hinge might look like, I'll just use hinge for an example. People are probably sick of me talking about hinging, but just as an example, it doesn't mean that if you're hinging in front of me doing a hinge where you're straightening your knees and extending your back, that doesn't mean I have to stop you doing that. I just have an option, another option over here that I could say, okay, if I want to, I can use this option. But the person who doesn't have that knowledge, they are stuck with one option. They don't have any other option. So the person who doesn't understand biomechanics, biomechanics is part of pain science. And this is just another example. It's part of it. It's not separate to it. But you can say, oh, none of this intricate foot movement is important. Yes, maybe with 90% of your clients, but maybe 9 out of 10 clients, but maybe there's one client that comes in where, yeah, you can talk to them about, are you sleeping well? Are you recovering from your training? Are you training? Are you stressed in your job? But maybe they just have an ankle impingement. And maybe there's bone hitting into bone and you need to open that space up. Now, what are you going to do for that client? So I don't like when people are not, more knowledge is never a bad thing, I think. We should always be chasing more knowledge, and more knowledge comes with the choice of when to use that knowledge. Online, you see people who get more and more knowledgeable, they make their solutions more and more complex. It should not lead to more complexity. It should lead to appreciating the complexity and still just having a simple solution. So that's what I think in this industry we need to have. You can't be the pain science guy. You can't be the communication guy, the programming guy, the blah, 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 blah. Well, you can if you want, in terms of you can teach that stuff. But if you're working with clients, you need to know everything. And I think you need to be good at everything. Doesn't mean you're going to be great at everything, but you just can't pick and choose because people aren't like that.
You're right in saying like having that responsibility, because I feel like one of my main goals with a lot of the stuff I want to do is like develop your training, but then I also have this side of the business, or like just the side of me where it's like I really want you to feel inspired to learn something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I want to inspire more and more. Now I want to inspire curiosity in people again. The amount of physios that fucking hate their job is insane. I know a lot of S&Cs probably and trainers probably get like that as well, but the physiotherapists despise their job. They hate themselves. They hate going to work. They hate their clients. And the amount of messages that we get, which is people who were about to leave the industry and like did lower body basics, and now they're like, I have energy again. I'm like, because you stopped using the same 2 exercises, or, or actually just started to realize like you can give your clients homework and they can get stronger and they can, I don't know, take some autonomy, and you can assess people without trying to shit all over them. Like, you can look at movement and not label it as good or bad and just say, look, I'm trying to see what strategy you use, and maybe we need to open up some other strategies. Maybe not. Maybe we need to get you better at the thing you're doing, better at the things you can't do well, maybe a mix. But when someone isn't enjoying learning, it says so much about them. And I'm same as you. I go through periods where I have no interest in learning. I'm fucking just consolidating, or I'm just not in that humor. And that could go on for months and months in a row. But that tends to be a bad period for me. But even sometimes you just have to get on with that. But now, for a decade now, that has never lasted. And curiosity has always come back. But when you lose curiosity, that is a dangerous place to be. And I've probably lost a bit of that recently, but maybe it's just like flipped over to other things recently. But I found myself getting a bit grumpy at stuff and grumpy at people, and I had to catch myself there. Like, I'm just being negative about things, and I don't want to project out into the future. Just negative about like the industry. Just negative about the industry, and I had to catch myself and project out into the future and see all these older strength coaches in the industry, and they're the most negative people ever. And it's hard to see how you could become that, but actually compounding is a real thing. And consistency is a real thing. So if you start off here, I can easily see how like you just allowed that negativity to creep in and that lack of curiosity to creep in. Now multiply that by 30 years, you're going to end up in a grumpy, old, bad space where you haven't learned anything and you think everything you do is right, but you've only been doing the same thing every day for 30 years. You haven't ever changed. So it's curiosity that they're missing. And that says so much about someone.
How do you balance using the methods that work well with curiosity in your job for yourself, like with the things that you do?
Easy peasy, because I work with people and I just work with people. It's so easy. And when sometimes I do get negative and I say like I haven't been learning much from other people, and that might not strictly be true, because even when you're not doing a course or you're still always learning. Just because even when I talk to you, like I might pick up, even in this podcast, like you're asking me questions, but I might pick up some unconscious idea, let's say, or, whatever. So you're always learning, and I'm always open to ideas. I just haven't gone into a strict, more formal learning capacity in terms of a course for a while. But my practice has still changed massively over the last few years and will continue to, because I stay curious with my clients. And that's not a force. I don't have to force myself to do that. I just sit down and listen to my client, and I just say, right, let's see what happens. And I'm very open to changing and stuff and going along, but that's, and trying different things and tweaking. But that is for a few reasons. One reason is I have good buy-in with my clients now. So they have a bit of patience and trust in me. But I kind of always operated like that. And I tried to build trust quickly enough, and sounds like a big phantom thing, but it's just like, okay, I can just have a conversation with you and now you trust me a bit better. So, yeah, just working with people and staying open-minded, I think. And I don't think you should have to force yourself to do
that. No, well, I mean, you're a good person, so I think that it probably starts with that. Yeah, it's interesting. The curiosity element. Someone asked me recently, there was like I put up a thing because I listened to a Stu McMillan podcast, and it was like, just trying to understand at a deeper level, what are some of the things that motivate you or make you tick? And he said one of the things that, like, a learned behavior or something that he has just like acquired over time of being in the field was curiosity. And that word came up quite a bit. And it's interesting how, it's funny you say it as well, but I think it's like a common thread with a lot of people that I like to get along with. And one of the biggest things for myself in the last 12 months has just been talking to more people that somehow I've been finding them, as rare as they are. But yeah, and all of you guys have the same thing in common. You're all like, you ask good questions, and you just, you genuinely care.
You're not finding them, Brandon. They're finding you more often than not. Genuinely, because you when you just start to put yourself out there, people ask about the best way of networking. And like, yeah, podcast is a great way of networking. But I've gone on podcasts where I've spoken to someone for an hour, and now if they were sitting in my sitting room here, I wouldn't know who they are. So like, podcasting can be a good way of networking, but also it can be a very transactional thing. You come on, you ask me questions for an hour, and then off we go again. But having a body of work out there, people start to find you. And even if you are still the one that initiates the conversation, like they can see that you have opinions on things and thoughts and stuff. And then like-minded people just find each other. So networking just comes back to actually you just putting stuff out there. I think it's simple as that.
Yeah, it's no, you're 100% right. It's funny because a lot of people want to, like, they're looking for this secret, or they're trying to like crack the code, crack the industry. But it's not really something that I view. Like, it's not really a way that I kind of view what we do. Or they kind of view it as, I used to really view it as like business as being more as a sport or as like a competition. But it's not really how I kind of view it at the moment. Or like I don't really see it as like I don't really see what I do as like competitive as such. It's more so I don't know. I'm trying to like freestyle this thought as I'm with you. So bear with me. But I don't know. I feel like when I think of things as more competitive, or it usually gets the better of me and it makes me feel negative rather than, I don't know. I know you've spoken about like creating a wheel and like you view your system as like a wheel, and that does not sound like a competition or a sport to me. That sounds like the way I heard you describe it once was like Harry Potter, and people come to you and they like get to experience like Harry Potter world, and they just fucking come here and they learn everything, and they get to learn about David Gray at a workshop.
I have no idea if I actually said that.
I have a really good memory, so you definitely said that.
Okay. I definitely said the wheel thing, but I don't know if I said the Harry Potter thing.
Yeah.
But
So
if I did, I like it.
how did you I don't know, how did you get to like viewing business and viewing those things as a wheel, and what was kind of like, I know some of the founding things. What's the foundation to that?
The foundation is just seeing where you are today and putting one foot in front of the other. It's just like, what's the next logical step? Just like training. That's what I think it is. I didn't have a massive plan or plan out all of this, a mastermind or anything like that. I just took the next logical step. I think that's a very rehabby thing, is take the next logical step, because in S&C you can tell yourself all these like fairy tales about periodization and in 10 months, 12 months we're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. In rehab, that doesn't really apply. And it does very broadly, like here's our goal, but how we get there is just not going to be linear in any way, shape, or form. So taking the next logical step, and anyone who works with athletes in particular, especially in clubs with athletes, in like professional organizations with athletes, I have a lot of empathy for them, because it's a very difficult job. You usually have a group of athletes, and like trying to plan out anything is really difficult. I did an S&C role with our local professional football team for 9 months. It was one of the best 9 months of my career. I learned so much, wasn't ready for the job. And I just kind of winged it and did an okay job. Looking back, like could have done way, way, way better, but I learned a lot. I had great time. It was mostly good weather that year for some reason. We were out in the pitch every single day. I was with the players. I was in the gym. And every day you just have to come in and see what, like you have a broad plan and then you just see what happens. So I view business in the exact same way, and just taking the next logical step. And I always knew that I would like to teach. I always liked teaching, but if you asked me 5 years ago to plan out the route of how I got to it, you can, I think Steve Jobs said this, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, not forwards. So that's the answer to the question. Just start putting dots down, and then you can look back and connect them later on. Just like all these coaches do, an athlete will win a gold medal, and then they'll tell you about the plan that they had for the last 4 years.
The anatomy of the Olympian. That's it. Then they'll show you.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah. Retrospect is a very powerful thing. It's usually that, isn't it?
So what's your next logical step for your business?
I need to sell just the punchline. I just want to sell the punchline. I have done enough context and story, and then I'm just gonna do them for a bit. I talked about it with a friend.
What does that mean?
I talk about it with a friend, how he says it's like selling fish sandwiches. So you can sell how to fish, or you can sell the fish sandwich. And I need to sell some fish sandwiches. So it's just putting out a program. It's just putting out a program. It's just, I think what's really not so much different about maybe yourself it is. There's a huge difference. Your things you have literally sold such an enormous amount. Things have been so well received. So it makes, it means that the number of products that you have is fairly streamlined, and it's a very nicely neat ecosystem, which is just how I look at it. I don't know if it's correct or not. It's like I look at the Apple products, and I know you've already mentioned Steve Jobs, but like everything's very neat. You get the whole ecosystem. It all blends well. If you do upper body basics, you're probably going to do the foot, the ankle, and you're probably going to do lower body basics, and then you're going to learn more later on. So it's a very nice ecosystem. Where I feel like mine's a little bit different in terms of like strength and conditioning, opposed to say the rehab side of thing. I think one of the ways in which those two things divide is people aren't injured. They kind of just want to try different things, and everyone wants to kind of try your shit. And in a year's time, they probably just want to try the next thing you put out because they're kind of bought into what you do, rather than me updating, say, some of the things I have done in the past, like updating the handbook or updating another product. I'd rather just have I'm thinking of just having many products, like 20, 30 or something like that, and just having, I don't know, a lot of things that I create over the years, and whether or not some of those things come back, like how you've resurrected some of your other things, your lower body basics too, and you bring it back, you revive it, but maybe it wasn't your plan to do that. It just happened.
Don't
do
20 or 30 products.
I'm just saying I want to create lots of things. But I'm also not planning very far in the future.
Yeah, you want to have a lot of clarity when someone, and ours is like I have a graph that I've drawn out. You probably saw it actually, where like a business graph that I've drawn out, which is like a customer journey, potential customer journey, but it's still a wheel. It's not a funnel. It's still the funnel thing, unless you're doing a product launch. It's not a funnel. It's a wheel, because people can come in anywhere.
The funnel shit. Yeah, I have a wheel. I literally have. It says on my whiteboard in front of me. It says creating the wheel, and it has a wheel. There's literally a wheel, and then it says on my whiteboard, redo this because it's got too messy. I can't even read it. There's like shit everywhere.
Yeah. So like
I'm bought into the wheel model.
The wheel, and the wheel isn't necessary, and wheel isn't the products. The wheel is your whole ecosystem.
It looks more like
But I would draw a graph out and say, right, from low ticket to high ticket type of thing, right? And that could potentially be the journey, but not necessarily, because someone could just buy the high ticket today. They found you today and they buy the high ticket today. What was I going to say? Shit. I was going to say something so important.
We're talking about the wheel and the graph, and you're talking about how you can take the customer on a journey.
Oh, yeah. But I was...
Sorry, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. But don't do 30 products, because someone... I know you're just saying, for example, but someone has to come on and be able to pick what their next logical step with you is. And I see a lot of people in the industry, and great people and stuff, but it's confusing. And including education that I would like to learn from. I've had another business conversation with a coach recently who has a very big business and some of the best quality information out there. And I don't know where to start with him, because he has 30 products for sale. And I've spoken to it's not clear. And that stops. What happens when it's not clear is not that people will buy something, they'll buy nothing. It's just like in training or rehab, when people are confused, they won't, it's like, okay, you need to train 5 days a week. You do need to do all of this. It's like when someone buys, if they buy lower body basics, and what they'll say is, I can't do 3 sets of 30 seconds of a foam roller bridge, so I do 0. It's instead of just doing 1 set of 20 seconds, right? So they do 0. So because for them, they can't make that logical step. Now hopefully that doesn't happen a lot, but
happens
you
at my gym.
One thing.
God
it happens everywhere.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It happens everywhere. So what's the customer's next logical step for you? If I came onto your page today, let's say I came across you on Instagram, looked at some posts, saw this guy looks good. At the moment, my next logical step would be probably, if I'm a coach, I want to learn from you, to join your mentorship. If I'm a client, if I'm a coach who wants to train though, and I'm not in your local vicinity, what's my next logical step then?
Well, then they
Do you
have
have
to do
one?
one-on-one. They have to do one-on-one.
One-on-one. Yeah. So there's your gap, is to have something that they can buy.
And that's the thing, and that's what I really need. And I haven't really wanted to do that for a long time. I just haven't. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy making that product.
Yeah.
I don't find it fun. I find it
Yeah.
boring. It's like, but I finished it today. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
nice.
finishing it. I'm just doing it. I'm just getting it done. And I just sat down and I was like, I'm going to give myself 2 hours. I've written many weightlifting programs, and this is the beginning of how I would start someone off. And I was like, cool, this is how I would start you off.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably look over
it's
it.
not fun. It's not fun doing it. It's not fun because you see so many loopholes in it. I've messed up some programs that I've released. I've really messed them up, where I was half thinking of a coach, half thinking of a person doing it, half thinking about a training program, half thinking about a rehab program, and I've just completely messed it up. And
that's what I was talking. That's kind of like full circle with what I was talking about at the start, like the punchline and the context. Like, I know in the later one, you kind of, in say foot and ankle, it definitely has far more educational material in it.
Yeah.
And was that kind of for that reason, or did you just feel compelled to just put it in there because it made more sense to you?
I wrote that as a rehab program.
Yeah.
Even though so many people, it could be used easily as a training program, and people will get really nice. Yeah, like if they've never done any of that foot and ankle stuff, they will feel really, really good after it, and they'll be humbled quite quickly, and they'll learn a lot too. But the education was in there. I initially, this time last year, probably, I started writing. I think I released that in January, and I started writing that. I started filming it with Kira in December, I would say. And I was filming it as a course, as a foot, ankle, Achilles course. And I filmed a few videos, and I was just like, I'm trying to say everything here in this course. I'm just trying to do too much in the course because there's so many things. If you ask me about the foot, I could just do 2 hours on like one exercise. So I just said, fuck it. I'm just turning this into a program and just saying, right, here's how I would broadly write something for a client.
So what was it originally, David? Was it like a foot course?
I think it was an Achilles tendinopathy course. And yeah, that's what it was. Education and like structuring a rehab process and all that. And I was going to charge, I don't know, $700 or something like that for it. And I just got fed up and turned it into a program, and it just included a little bit of education. And I think it was a good idea, but that's kind of playing it safe as well, because you can charge a little bit for a lot less than what you could have charged. But I know the program will kill it. I don't know the course will kill it.
Do you think at later stage in your business or in life, you just try and play things safe, like when you get bigger, or like after? Is that something that happens? Or you just take
what happens?
Take more calculated risks.
You know what happens with me is I know that whatever I put out, thousands of people are going to buy it. And some people will listen to this and say, like, in their mind, that's like ding, 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 gold mine. And it is in some ways. In other ways, it means you're way more careful with what you put out. Yeah. That's where my mind goes. In other people's is like fucking spam everything, put it out there, sell that shit. But for me, I'm way more careful now. And I want it to be really good. So our foot one is their best program by far.
So what's your next logical step?
I have to do a mentorship. That's the next logical step. Because like if I could do a million things now, and I could do to hire people, which I need to do. I could do all of this stuff. But if I'm honest with myself, if I just said to myself, how could we double our revenue next year? It would be a mentorship. Simple. And I would just have to create it. I wouldn't have to do hardly any marketing, hardly any hiring anyone, anything like that. I would just create a mentorship, and we would double our revenue in the year.
Have you already been working on it, or is this something that you just thinking about that idea?
I set aside all of December. It's a big task. I set aside all of December to do it, and then we ended up needing a new unit, and just put an offer down on a house as well. So that was but how I've ever released products in the past is when I needed money. That was when I did it. So so if I end up getting the house, I'll definitely have a mentorship next year.
Mentorship's coming out. Oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's
good motivator.
And now that you're going to be a dad, you're going to be family. I think there's got to be more fire under your ass to do that.
Yeah.
It's what do you think of mentorships?
I think they can be great.
The concept of them, or just how people learn today is in like, in the past, maybe you would have met a mentor, maybe you would have had a coach, maybe you would have had this relationship with someone. Like, I think about Matt Watson, I think about my friend Jack, I think about even myself. I've got this like Serbian weightlifting coach that I've had for 8-9 years, and he's like coming to my wedding. He's like one of my closest friends, and I'm sad that not everyone has that.
Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, the online mentorships shouldn't be called mentorships, really. They're not really mentorships.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And I'll still probably call mine a mentorship.
I'm not trying to try and make
it. Yeah.
At least we're clear on what we're trying to do. It just makes it easier because everyone knows what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. Yeah. But a mentor should be like, if you're not, that's why I don't think I've ever really had a mentor. Everyone says I've done mentorships, but I don't think I've ever really had a mentor that I could just send a text to and say, just talk to on a very, very regular basis and just spitball and say blah blah blah. And I'm not saying that's not the fault of the teachers that I've had over the years. That could be my fault. Maybe that was available to me and I didn't avail of it. But I don't think the mentorships a lot of them are actually mentorships, really.
I even think about that even worries me or stresses me with like, not stresses me, it frustrates me, and it's the reason why sometimes I don't really want to grow my online coaching business, or like some people I'm like, I'm not, we're not doing that together. Sorry. Because I really want it to be like, I have this one girl at the moment and she's one of the best weightlifters in Australia. And I don't want to be that coach who's like, oh, you coached me for 3 months. You coached me for 12 months. You coached me for 2 years, but you never really made an impact on my life. Like, I'm never really going to remember you. And not that I want to be remembered, but like, I just feel like, the connection that I have with a mentor, or like, I know what it's like to have a real life mentor and someone that you can call, someone like not even that you PB and you call them or they call you or whatever. But just having someone that you can talk to about lots of things. And, with someone like myself, I feel like I've been given like a lifetime of education with this one person. Like, look at Matt Watson, for example. Like, it's literally it's his old high jump coach and what he's been able to create with all that, and just
exactly that's a mentor.
It's knowledge that's been passed down. And for me, it's like, just recently, I'm just thinking of like, there's so many of these traditional ideas and traditional things that I want to keep alive that I think are so important. And people shit on a lot of these traditional things, and I'm like, I don't realize how much complexity or depth was in those ideas. And I feel like I'm going to end up being the Mike Boyle, the old school guy that people are going to shit on, but it's like, you have no fucking idea.
We all are. Everyone is going to get like, and all your ideas will be strawmanned, every single one, because, like, I don't know. You look back at the industry, Poliquin is gone. The amount of strawmanning of his idea, and I'm not a big Poliquin fan, by the way. He had some bad ideas, but he's not here to defend him. No. And also, he's not here to say, I changed my mind on that. They're just taking a soundbite of one of his ideas, and like, he's been dead. He hasn't had a chance to see the new research and see whatever and change his mind. My ideas from 2 years ago are fucking trash, but I have a chance to rewrite that a little bit,
Is the plan for you to keep rewriting things as you go along and as you learn? So like, say for example, with your upper body basics, let's just say for example, you're like, half of this wrist shit, I'd never even use it. Let's just say for example, like not
But that no, but I will say on that wrist shit was just there because
no, I didn't.
I know, no, I do want
love the
no,
wrist
no,
shit
no,
'cause I
no.
use it a lot.
No, let me answer this. Let me
No,
answer that
fuck
before you go
David.
on. Just because this is because we're just talking about creating a program.
The wrist shit is the
There's
main stuff
Roxy.
I use, just for the record. Let the record show that. It's the main thing.
That's fine.
Most valuable stuff.
No, this is what the hard thing with creating a program is. I wrote upper body basics and I was like, okay, is this a training program or is this a rehab program? And then I would have shoulder stuff and rib cage stuff and neck stuff. And then I was like, oh fuck, but if someone buys this and has a neck or a wrist problem, it's not going to be the thing. Yeah, exactly. They're fucked. So then I put in wrist stuff.
It's the foot of the hand. You need to have it.
So now I'm like, should it just have been a wrist program separate to a shoulder program? But then I thought, actually, if I have someone with an upper body problem, everyone just buys upper body basics and they don't have that confusion. So sorry, just to clarify that's the problem that you have run into with your weightlifting program. Let's say releasing that. It's like, but what if this? But what if that? But what if that? And that fucks you. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Oh my. This one's great. And the wall push-up, you know how many people can't do that?
Yes.
How weak are their hands? What a weak organism.
Palmar fascia. They're palmar fascia. Because when they do push-ups, they push through the heel of their hand. They cannot stretch just the palmar fascia and the fingers. Then wall push-ups are great.
Yeah, I love them. And I had some guys who struggle with, like, it's your same presentation. I can't front rack the bar when I front rack, like they front rack like this. And I'm like, yeah, why does your wrist hurt? I wonder why. This tissue is literally like this. It's like a knot. And then I had the guy do one on the wall and he was like this. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're on a wall and you're standing. Like your body, like you've had a protractor, you're genuinely vertical, like 90 degrees, and you're doing that. Like, what the fuck? Have you never loaded that tissue in your life?
Yeah.
But then I am pretty trash at the big toe extension. I can't. That's fucked. That my foot does not bend, so I have to work on that. But it was interesting. No, it's my point was back to what we're talking about was
Will I keep changing them?
Well, yeah. At some point, do you just say it was a 2023 David Gray product?
Yeah, I will rewrite upper body basics soon. I will either rewrite or bin core basics, and LBB 1 and 2 are good. Foot is good. I don't know. I wanted to release like a late stage rehab program, like lower body late stage rehab program for a while, and make it like the foot one, let's say, that
more
involved
like a training one, pliers and stuff like that, or
yeah, exactly. Like with a little bit of sprinting involved, a little bit of change of direction. It's like, okay, if you want to get back on the pitch or the court, okay, you had an ankle issue or a knee issue or a hip issue, but at some stage, all of those things converge and it becomes like, okay, you've rehabbed that issue, but now you need to get more specific to actually sprinting, change direction.
Speed program. Back to speed.
Not speed, but just sport.
You got to call it speed. Yeah, you got to.
No, because
speed and speed. Fuck speed.
Speed. There's enough speed stuff out there, but like, yeah, anyone can just program. Like, yeah, I'm not a sprint coach, so yeah.
A speedy recovery. What about that? That would be a good name for it.
You know what? One of the reasons my mentorship has been taking so long is because I don't know what to call it. That's like I'm a stickler for names and like.
Do you want to have a cute little tagline to it? Are you? I
just don't want to call it my name.
It's so boring.
Yeah, me too.
But I wonder if that probably is one of the reasons why things are more successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, being clear, not clever.
Because people know exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But being clever is funny to yourself.
Yeah, but well, there's posts that I do, and I'm like, this is a shit post, and then I see it. It's like 2 minutes later, David Gray Rehab liked it, and no one else. I'm like, yeah, it was funny to me. It was funny to me. It was good to me, but
Yeah,
that doesn't really
exactly.
sell.
No, but sometimes you have to do it for yourself.
Sometimes you have to do David Gray's tacos.
What's my tacos?
Irish. How to make an Irish taco?
Oh, that was a burrito.
Fuck, sorry, mate. It could have just been lost in translation. In the accent, it was probably in the accent. I didn't pick it up. But yeah, the mentorship. Yeah, so that's the next logical step. It's a very common sense, a very clear way of looking at it at business. Definitely cuts through a lot of the bullshit. Would you ever diversify and go under a different name under for business only? Do you ever see yourself doing that in the future?
Yes,
Seems
I
to be a
do.
passion of yours.
Yeah, because it helps people. And also because there's good money in it, and it's stickier. It's easier to sell because if you buy a business product for $1,000 and you make $10,000 back, you can measure that very using the strategies that say like that's easy to measure. Whereas you buy a training product or you buy a course, it's $1,000. Did you get more clients from it? Did you help more clients? Like it's harder to measure. So I would do that. I do like talking about business, but the reason I've spoken a lot about business on my podcast is I think if you're listening to podcasts from me about training, then you're probably going to be interested in listening to that stuff as well, just because it probably means you're a coach or a therapist in the industry. And so you probably have to figure out how to improve your retention, your referrals, your new clients, your blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I've done it because I probably will do something like that in the future. But it's based off, I would just want to be able to put up a screenshot of my Stripe and be uh, like
The biggest flex of all time? Is that what you want to
yeah,
do?
yeah, yeah. Just like with my programs, if someone comes at me, like I sometimes dream of saying this, and I always tell myself not to say this, but if someone comes at me like saying, like one fucking yoga physio idiot came at me the other day, and like he was saying like your methods don't work, and I just wanted to reply like I've helped more people this week than you have in your whole career. So like if mine don't work, imagine what you're doing. So yeah, that's the flexes like that can be nice.
That's a pretty big flex. Yeah, your
Yeah.
the Stripe account. That's a solid one. The yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, yeah, there's obviously going to be a continual evolution with you and your I know desire to want to keep learning and improving the things that you do.
Yeah. The business is good because the business stuff is good. Like, do I want to ultimately, like, of course, I want to stay curious, but it's just a natural evolution. The business stuff forces you to keep like leveling up because you get stuck at every level. You get so stuck, like stuck to the point where you just don't know the answer. That happens constantly in business, and it's a perfect reflection of where you are as a person and in your life at the time, because you get stuck firstly with like, okay, questions around how should I set up my business? How should I should I rent a unit? How should I, all this stuff. Then you get stuck around, okay, how do I get my clients in? Then when you get your full client book in, you get stuck around, should I hire? How do I do this? What do I do with my prices? Then you get stuck around, okay, yeah, I've hired coaches, but now do I hire administration? Do I go into education? Do I buy a premises? You could just constantly get stuck, and you constantly have to learn new skills. It's fascinating. Business is fascinating, and you get a chance to learn from, do I want to learn from knees over toes guy or Steve Jobs? Like that's my question nowadays, you know? And the answer is not knees over toes guy.
Well, I feel like it's very so relatable what you were saying prior about there's just these never-ending obstacles that you have to fucking go through, and it's not even a matter of like failing. It's more so a matter of like, okay, I have to problem solve this, and this is for me, it was like, okay, I need to do the time online and I need to build trust and create presence. And then now people have a relatively good understanding of who I am and I'm comfortable with the things that I talk about. And I feel like I somewhat know what I'm talking about on those topics. I made sure like the handbook was good. It was a really important project. And I just like had you in the back of my mind being like, just make it once, make it well, and
Yeah, make it good.
people will buy it on their own.
Yeah.
And then the same thing was like, okay, low ticket education offer. They need to be able to come to me very affordably to learn. And I know with weightlifting, they won't be brought into pliers. They won't be brought into more complex discussions around biomechanics. They're not going to be brought into a number of things. And it needed, and one of my things was like, not to be like a savior of the industry, but like, this was the best way that I found at the current time to solve the problem of how can I get people inspired about learning more, and then, them just being better coaches and more well-versed, and, having a portal as such, or like a body of work, audio visual one.
Yeah.
I think was important to me.
You got to have that body of work. And like with the ads thing, people will run ads. No, not you, but people can run ads and it will work. Like they will sell some stuff, but it masks the problem. And you're better off fixing the problem first. Now, sorry, you're never fixed. It's always tweaking. Like you're always going to be tweaking things, but I find this fascinating sometimes. I'll see a follower. I could be on Instagram. I'll see someone follow. I'll see them like a post. Some people now, not everyone. I'll see them like a post. I'll see them like another post. And then I'll see an order come in 5 minutes later. And I say like, you followed my account and within 5 minutes of that, you've given me $50 or something. So like that to me, like we're doing something right there. And hopefully that $50 will turn into whatever. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But like that should be happening some of the time with your page. And I know that's very difficult to measure. Like it is difficult to measure, but it should be happening. And if it's not happening, you need to ask yourself, like, who's finding you? That's an important question. How are they finding you? That's an important question, because that probably only happens that someone does that if they found you through someone else who they already respect. So that respect has been outsourced and loaned to me for that short period of time because someone else said this was good. Not a product, but this person was good or shared something or something like that. Then they have to come onto my page and there has to be enough clarity around what they should buy pretty quickly. So like my bio is relatively clear. I'm not a big bio person, like where you have to have this exact words or whatever, but it has to be relatively clear. And then in the first 30 seconds, they need to be able to see my face, my voice, know my name, and know what I'm about within 30 seconds. And some of your posts, I wonder if you looked at your page now and looked at your last 9 posts, they might not be able to see your face in any of them, would they? Or hear you talk in any of them?
They can.
They can. Okay, good. They have to be able to hear you talk. So then they have to be able to go and buy something straight away. So that's where your product will come in. If you can get all that stuff right, run ads and you'll smash it. And you could smash it now especially once you have that product. So yeah, that's what I would say with the ads. And I think
Go on. No, go on.
I think you've had what I say. I think I said this to you. You've had a momentous year, which leads to next year is a momentum year. You don't need to have another momentous year. You just need to not fuck it up.
We just broke inertia. Now we just have to keep going.
100%.
Yeah.
Momentum. Just don't fuck it up. What did I put up a quote from Charlie Munger on my Instagram yesterday, which is the amount, something along the lines of, people are trying to be so smart. We have made all our gains from just trying to be consistently not stupid. Just don't be an idiot. Don't fuck it up. And the tendency is to want to fuck it up because it's something, well, in me at least, there's an innate desire to burn it to the ground so that everything is shit so I can fix it. But I have to fight against that. I'm like, no, don't fuck it up.
I feel that as well. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And
it's just things can't go too well for you. That's the problem.
Isn't it weird? Is that just a business owner thing?
No, that's a male thing.
It's a personality trait. It's a
you have to find someone to be fighting with, and like if you're not fighting with someone else,
might as well fight with
you're going to fight with yourself. Exactly. Exactly.
What a fucking dumb. Yeah. Oh geez. Yeah. No, don't
fuck it up.
Yeah, so I just have to not fuck it up, hey.
Yeah, and it's really not hard to not fuck it up. You just have to be honest with yourself. It's not hard to. It's hard to get it going. Like I think about a graph as well. Like if someone's at the start of the graph, getting it going takes so much work.
Yeah.
Action in the beginning takes work. Consistency doesn't. But you can almost flip it around when it comes to your mindset. Action in the beginning takes work. Momentum doesn't take that much work. You just need to keep giving it a little push, a small push, and it keeps chipping along. But it almost flips the mindset where actually, when you're in the action stage, it takes work, but maybe you're excited about it. So you might be thinking like, this isn't that bad. But when you're in the momentum stage, you think, this is horrible, this is shit, I have to do this every fucking day. It might take 20 minutes a day to keep it going, but you just make it such a dramatic thing in your head. So I always try and just bring myself back. It's not that bad. If I could say this to myself a few years ago, or if I could offer a guy that was working 12 hours a day out in a site, laying blocks, like, I don't know, my brother said recently to me, like, how do you do an Instagram post every day? I said, it takes an hour a day max. And like,
it's not that hard, but sometimes it is hard.
I told him how much that Instagram post will make me every single day. And he was like, I still wouldn't be able to do that. I was like, fucking, you're talking about 1 hour work for like X amount of money? Come on.
So, yeah. Very James Clear of you. I get to do it. I get to do the task.
No, I don't have that. I just have to not allow myself to think just don't fuck it up. That's it. I don't think I get to do it because I don't enjoy it a lot of the time. So
yeah. Fuck. This one last thing. Did you used to work at McDonald's?
Yes, twice.
Can you tell me like a funny McDonald's story or something like that?
Yeah. So I worked there when I have several funny McDonald's
I just
stories.
really wanted to ask you this because I used to work at McDonald's as well, so we can bond over this. Some fucked up shit happens at McDonald's.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you a few. I'll try and be very brief and quick.
No. So, you tell them in the David Gray way.
Where did you work in McDonald's? Did you work in the kitchen? Did you work on the tills?
Yeah, in the kitchen. Yeah. How was wash up? Wash up was gross, wasn't it? Remember wash up? You wash the dishes?
No, I never did that.
Really?
No.
Oh man,
I was on the burgers.
Locked and you used to do that to grab all the stuff out. It was like rotten, and you'd go home and you just smell it on you, and it was so nasty. Yeah, no, it was nasty.
I do remember the smell of grease. So, okay, when I was first there, I think I was 14. My dad knew the manager.
Same as go on.
So I was on the buns in the back. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's always a guy like behind the tills, and to make a Big Mac, there's 3 people. One guy puts the buns in the toaster. He takes them out. He passes them to the next guy who dresses the buns. But the guy who's on the buns has to tell the person who's on the meat behind you, put down 8 meat. It's 8 meat down or 12 meat down.
10 to 1.
So they put it down. You get the buns toasted. You put it out. The guy beside you has to dress it. And then he hands it over to the guy. The meat is just finished in that magical 1 second when you're turning around with the tray. He slaps the burgers on and it goes up and your man dresses them up the front. So I used to always be on the buns. I think they start everyone on the buns. But then the dressing gets a bit tricky because...
but when you're on buns, you do the sauces as well, no?
No.
Really? In Ireland, it must be different.
Yeah.
In Australia, you just fucking do the whole thing. You got to do it all.
No. We would
They
have
say,
three
"Fuck
different
yeah."
people there.
Okay.
No, so I used to pass. It would be in like such a busy place, it was non-stop. So the guy at the front shouts 12 max down or whatever, which means, and then he'd go 4 pickle or 4 no pickle, 2 no cheese, 6 with onion, or 6 no onion. So you have to, but on your first day, you're like, how could I ever remember all this? But then a few days later, you're like, fuck it, it's just automatic. So there's a guy beside me, he was dressing the stuff, and I don't know, we got into a bit of an argument or something that, oh no, I was dressing the stuff and he was on the meat or something, and I was holding them up. And I said, there's no way anyone can get this dressed in time for the meat to come around just based on what was coming. So I was the pickle, the onion, the sauce, the cheese, blah, blah, blah. And he had one arm. So he goes, he had been there like 20 years. So he goes, leave me on. Give it there. So he was an absolute machine at it, right? He did it with about 10 seconds.
You can see him squeezing the Big Mac sauce like that.
Yeah. So that was one. I learned that lesson that day. I was like, this guy is a machine. So that's one. I still think about that. Another one.
What was his name? The guy with the one arm?
I can't remember.
Okay, never mind.
I bet you he's still there too. He's a fucking machine. And so the day that I left McDonald's, when I was 17, I was back there, or 18 when I was back there. My friend rang me one morning. So there's Galway is a country in Ireland. It's about 4 hours away from where we are on the west coast. And every year they have Galway races, horse races. And it's the biggest festival in Ireland. Everyone goes and just gets smashed at Galway races. So my friend rang me 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to Galway races. Are you coming? I'm driving. And I said, I'm working in McDonald's today. I can't. And he goes, you're just come. So we asked Kira to come, who me and Kira were like kind of starting to date a little bit at the time. And so she said she'd go. And I was like, fuck, I have to go now. So he drove me to McDonald's that morning. I had crutches at home. I went in on a pair of crutches. I told him I was after breaking my ankle or something. And then threw the crutches in the car and we drove to Galway races and just got smashed for a few days. And I never ever went back. So like, that's how I quit from McDonald's. So yeah, might not be funny to other people, but
what an epic send off.
Yeah. To instead of just being honest and saying like I'm finished, like you just don't have the balls to say that to McDonald's. You have to pretend you have a broken ankle.
It's such a I'm always fascinated when someone says they work at McDonald's, because they always have just like there's just these crazy stories, and then you're so young as well, so you just like you don't know what's what, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. I've dropped a few burgers on the ground and stuff like that. It was bad because we were in a plaza, so it's more like in a shopping center. So it was more you get the lunch rush and yeah. But yours, we actually had screens to tell us like what was in the orders, and then you just get like a McDonald's sticker and put it on the box, and then just like shuffle it down. So you couldn't really stuff up no cheese or one of those or things like that.
Mm-hmm. We could stuff up. Okay, I have one more very quick. I was actually starting to play I must have been 18 when I was there, not 17. Yeah, I must have been 18. So I was playing a pretty high level of football at the time. And this is when I decided that I was done with McDonald's, because my shifts were starting to get in the way of my training. And I was furious. Like, so I was so annoyed. And one day I missed a match. Right. So all the lads, they all went off to play a match and I had to work at McDonald's. Right. So I was done. I was flipping burgers. So anyway, I literally was flipping burgers that day. And next thing, one of the people at the drive-thru shouts, David, come over here. There's someone looking for you. So I'm in my McDonald's outfit and I went over to the drive-thru, and it was all the lads after finishing the match. And they started taking pictures of me in my McDonald's outfit. And God. Yeah, so that was, yeah. And laughing their heads off at me. And like, yeah, so that was the day I was like, fuck this.
Yeah, just too lame. What did everyone else do for a first job in Ireland? What do they normally do? I feel like that's not a bad place to start.
My first job was with my brother. When I was 12, he turned, when can you start driving in Ireland? 16 or 17?
I was going to
Can't
say,
remember.
you start driving when you're 12. He was like, my first job was an Uber driver. I go
So
on.
he started a landscaping. He started a landscaping company was when he could first drive, which was either 16 or 17, which would make me 12 or 13. And he used to drive with a lawnmower and a strimmers and all that stuff in the back with a trailer and drop me over to a housing estate. And I'd just cut grasses all day. And then he'd come back and collect the money at the end.
Oh,
so that was my first job. Yeah. Yeah. So he's very, very entrepreneurial.
From humble beginnings, from cutting grasses, cutting checks, David Gray. That's it. Sorry. I don't know. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap it up. It's been a lot of fun. Honestly, it's been a ton of fun. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, David.
You too, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think in 12 months, I know you've had a long time of learning, and it's not like your coaching career started when you started posting on Instagram. Couldn't be opposite than that. But in 12 months I probably only know you 12 months. Our seminar was in February, and I probably only knew you a few months before that.
Yeah.
So like in 12 months, your career didn't start when I just because I started following you, but in 12 months of me following you to see just how much you've kind of carved your path has been really cool. And it should be a lesson to other people that like it's really not that hard. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to you in any way, shape, or form, because I say it about me as well. There's not that many people who actually use their brain in this industry, so it's not that hard. And if you just do a few simple things well, you can really make it pay pretty quickly. So good job.
Thanks, David. Likewise to yourself. Yeah, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to seeing where. I often think to myself throughout the day, I'm like, what would David do? I'm like, yeah, don't fuck it up. All right, do this instead. So it's I have you in my head.
Good.
Yeah, in all the in a good way. If anyone has any questions for David, please smash his DMs. Ask him. No, click the link in bio. All your links will be down below, David, and I'm sure people are, if they don't already have your programs, they should definitely be checking out. Start with the programs first. That's what I recommend to a lot of the coaches that I coach. Start with the programs first. If you enjoy that, then check out David Gray Interactive and learn more from there, learn more context. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I will speak to you in the next episode.